Okay, well, welcome everybody. Some people have brought their lunch. Welcome back to the Installer Plaza. Now, we've got a little extra item here, and I'm delighted to be joined by MP Martin McCluskey. Martin, welcome.
Thank you, Dave.
I think you were appointed Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State in the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero in September last year. That's a small business card, isn't it?
Yeah. A very small business card.
Very small business card. Now, with your team, you're responsible for the government's decarbonisation plans, including boiler upgrade scheme, warm homes plans, heat networks, and more. First question, busy week this week?
A slightly busy week. Maybe more activity in Manchester this week than there's been in Birmingham, but very good to see so many people here today. I want to just say a couple of things very briefly, and then we can have some questions. I think it's so great to see so many people at an event like this because it's so important what people here are doing. My dad was a painter and decorator, and I know how important it is to have people in the trades and to have people who are doing the jobs that you're doing. And from the point of view of government and the job that I'm doing, which is all about energy efficiency, is all about how do we get people to upgrade their homes with insulation, solar, heat pumps, batteries. The people who are here today are going to be the people leading on that agenda. And I know talking to some people who've been coming here for many years, at some points heat pumps and solar were at the back of cupboards at this event, and now we're seeing them. I'm just looking at Valent in front of me, Mitsubishi, who are producing heat pumps in Livingston, near where my constituency is. This is now front and centre, not just in the government's plans for energy efficiency, but also what we need to be thinking about in terms of building and what people here are doing today. So just one final point, just before we go into questions. We've got a £15 billion plan, the Warm Homes Plan, which government is putting money behind between now and 2030 to help people upgrade their homes. And this is also about providing good, high-quality jobs to the people who are here today, all the installers who are here today.
It's interesting because Glowworm have launched their very first heat pump this year, June the 1st, so it is a big thing. How much do you listen to installers, or how much do you communicate with installers?
The reason why I'm at this event today, why I come to events like this on a regular basis, is to hear directly from installers and from industry about what the issues are that you're facing. Before I came to this Q&A, I was having a meeting of our Warm Homes Workforce Task Force, which is all about how we make sure that the plan delivers for installers and delivers for small businesses across the country. There's no point in putting £15 billion of public money into these schemes unless it's delivering good, high-quality jobs for people in this country, and that's what the priority of the plan is.
This is now the 11th year of this show, and I remember the very first one in Coventry. There were 20 Shell Scheme stands, and probably one of these stands would have cost, well, it would have been more than the cost of all of those put together twice. So it's quite incredible the money that's been put into this, and it shows the importance that people are attaching to it these days. Yeah,
100%, and it's, you know, I talk about the £15 billion plan that government has, but the money that will be put in by many of the companies that are gathered around this stall today is even greater. So it's about government putting the money in, but it's not about government doing all the work. It's about the private sector, it's about industry, it's about business taking a lead in this. And for us, it's about creating demand. So creating demand for the work that people here are going to be doing over the course of the next decade or more.
How much engagement do you have with the manufacturers themselves?
Like just looking around here at the moment, I was with Dakin 2 weeks ago in Manchester. I've been with Valent. I was at Mitsubishi's factory in Livingston watching heat pumps come off the assembly line there. That's just from looking around here. I go out and visit manufacturers every week. We're very clear that we want more manufactured in the United Kingdom. So just take heat pumps, for example. We have a target for 75% of all heat pumps that are installed in the UK to be manufactured in the UK. And that's because we want to make sure that this transition that we're going through at the moment delivers for people in this country to make sure that we've got those good quality, high quality jobs.
When you put a target like that in place, how realistic is it, do you think?
I think it's really realistic. I don't want to just dwell on heat pumps, but you know, if you look at the heat pump market, we've gone from 20,000 installations to over 125,000 last year in a fairly short period of time, because demand is growing from consumers who are looking at making potentially a cleaner choice, but also who want to upgrade their homes with the latest technology. But where I think you're seeing that the most at the moment is around solar and battery, and especially with the situation that we found ourselves in with the crisis in the Middle East and the impact that's had on energy. More people are now thinking, why am I not taking advantage of things like solar and battery in order to make sure that their energy bills are going down. So government can do a lot, and government can set targets to try and drive demand, but ultimately it's going to be consumers, individuals across the country changing their mind about the type of products they want, and that is already starting to happen.
Prior to September last year and being appointed, what was your role before that?
In government? I was only elected as an MP in 2024. Before that, I had my own business. I was also a local councillor, and as a local councillor, worked on a lot of the kind of local schemes on energy efficiency that are the kind of heart of what we're doing in the department. So, you know, I've not been in politics or direct frontline politics for a long time, and come at this from a background of business and various other kind of things I've done over the years.
How do you enjoy direct frontline politics?
I enjoy it a lot, which for some people maybe watching this week, you would maybe ask why. But you know,
that was my next question.
But ultimately, look, the story I always tell at this, you know, I said at the start of this conversation that my dad was a painter and decorator. Yeah. I grew up in a 4-block council house in Greenock, in the constituency that I now represent. And the job that I've now got is about how do we give people in the trades good jobs? How do we make sure that those homes, like the one that I grew up in, are safe, warm, and dry? And I get to, you know, I get a budget of £15 billion to think about how we do that. So that's why, ultimately, why I came into politics. It's not for the sort of things we've seen on our television screens this week that attract lots of public attention, but it's actually about doing real things and doing good things to help people across the country.
I think one of the things that certainly confuses me and probably other people is that you're in this role now. Now, a change at the top where it might lead you into a different role, perceptibly. So the difficulty I think a lot of people face is where's the continuity potentially? Because you could be Minister for Sport or whatever next week. How do you answer that question?
I think if I'm appointed as Minister for Sport, the country should give up on sport. But what I would say is, I think regardless of who's in these roles, it's obviously important who, I'm not going to say for a second it's not important who takes the individual positions, but I'm also backed up by a department that has 5,000 brilliant people in it who are thinking about how we achieve the things that we want to achieve as a government. Continuity is really important, stability is really important, and regardless of what happens over the next kind of week or two and what we've seen on the TV this week, the government is still entirely committed to the Warm Homes Plan. It's entirely committed to the plan that we set out in January that's going to deliver those jobs and deliver decarbonisation for homes across the country.
Brilliant. Look, we've got 2 or 3 minutes. Would anybody like to ask a question on this topic? Nothing else, to be fair. Anybody like to ask? Yeah. Just tell us who you are, where you come from.
Hi there. I'm Sweta Coopermar. I'm from a trade association called BEMA. In terms of the Warm Homes Plan, and we fully support that, and we've been following it quite closely for manufacturers that we represent. What do you think are some of the gaps that we need to consider still for the Warm Homes Plan?
I wouldn't describe them as gaps as such, but there are definitely areas where we need to set out a bit more detail. But the plan is fully funded, and there is an offer in there for everyone. So I think, you know, whether you are in a low-income household in social housing, or whether you are in the able-to-pay market wanting to replace your boiler with a heat pump or wanting to put solar on your roof, there is something in there to be able to provide you with that. So grants for people in social housing, loans for people in the able-to-pay market. But I think the other really important thing and this goes back to the question that I was asked a moment ago about how targets are important, but regulation is also important. So 2 big things we've done over the last year. One is private rental sector minimum energy efficiency standards, and the other is in the social rented sector, where it's not going to be government directly putting in money, but we are going to be asking people through regulation to increase their standards, and that's going to create a huge amount of work for people here upgrading, for landlords in private rental sector and in the social rented sector. So I think there is an offer for everyone. I still think there's, in some areas, more work that we need to do with industry, with trade bodies like yourselves, to thrash out the detail of what needs to be done over the next few years.
Thank you. We're kind of run out of time. Are you going to be able to spend a bit more time looking around?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to get around some of the stalls.
Right, well, I'll leave you to do that. But final question, Scotland or Brazil?
Scotland or Brazil? Scotland, of course.
Of course, but I hear that Scotland have got a new captain. Did you know that?
When I said you shouldn't put me in charge of sport, there's a reason for that, Any question you're going to ask me is probably going to go right over my head right now.
Scotland appoint a new captain. He's flying them home on Thursday. I'm
Oh.
only joking. Right, listen.
Cruel.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen.
I did have my Croatia top on a few days ago, but I've taken that off now. Thanks very much.
Give it up for Martin McCluskey. Thanks, Martin. Cheers, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask my panel to step in, and we'll have a couple of minutes before we come on to our next session.